Always that momentary pause before I can unmute. Happy Tuesday, friends. Happy Dork Discourse Partay, everybody, and welcome to all the new faces we're seeing in the chat. Of course, shout out to the OGs and the mods. We got Charlie, Sean, Josh, Stanley's. Who else was hanging out in the early chat? I think I saw Jason Olsen up there. Yes, Alice poked her head in.
What up?
Gang's all here. And then hello, oh, Julian was up there. And then hello to some new friends we have here. Charles Knisley. I'm sorry I botched that. Hello. Bob of the Old Ways. What is up? Charlie Brick Films. What's up? Yes, it is the second to last episode tonight, folks. Connor, what's up?
Coming down to the wire.
Phillies are up 9-0 right now. Let's go. I can always count on Connor for those Phillies baseball updates. That's beautiful. That's what I like to hear. Because summertime is usually either make or break for the Phillies. We either kick into high gear or we plateau and then decline a little bit and get a little tired. So I'm happy to hear that. Good to see you, Connor. Thanks for being here. Susan, what's up? Good to see you. Darnock is here. Let's get it, team. Shout out everybody for joining us on this lovely Tuesday evening as we approach the second to last episode of the Acolyte. Yeah, what is going to go down, y'all? Sorry, my brain just ceased for a second because I cannot believe that it's already just 2 episodes left. Sal's joined us. Hello, Daddy Josh is here. Lord Fowl, gang's all here.
What's up, everybody?
Thanks for showing up, everybody. I hope you are all having a great week so far. Hi, Tom, Kat, and everyone in this week's chat. It's time for another Acolyte Edition Tuesday Fun Day Dork Discourse chat room and live stream party, baby. Now here's your hosts, Tom and Kat Skull. Thank you, Jason Olsen.
Wonderful introduction.
I need to memorize that. I only have the partay part down. I need to memorize the full thing because that is quite the intro. Thank you so much, my friend. It doesn't feel complete now. A Dork Discourse welcome without it. Skull right back at ya. Bird Church is here. Let's go. Gang's all here. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Whole crew.
How's everybody feeling after last week's juicy, interesting episode? Yeah, that one was certainly something. Curious if y'all watch with your family members or have a little watch party with friends. That was definitely interesting. Susan says, I'm excited for tonight. Can't wait to learn what actually happened 16 years ago. Yes!
Yeah, I mean, they've been teasing us the whole series so far. But, I mean, Soul has May literally locked down, ready for an explanation. And Osha is literally being seduced in multiple ways by the dark side. So they've been setting up this what is the truth that happened all this time ago, even with Vanestra's scenes in the last episode. So they, I think, almost certainly are going to give us all the juicy details tonight.
Yep.
And then next week we're going to get the resolution of it and the fallout and whatever happens from it. So
truthfully, y'all, the more I think about this, also, thank you guys for the birthday wishes. Appreciate it. Yes, it was a wonderful weekend. Great episode of House of the Dragon to celebrate. So thank you, friends, before we go any further. But yeah, the more I think about it and linger on it, the more I'm really actually resolved to the fact that everyone might actually be dying. I felt this incredible sense of dread after last week's episode. And allegedly, I mean, you saw it on Twitter as well. According to the interwebs and the chirping going on there, the finale is titled Doom. Doom, not to be confused with Caleb Doom.
Yep.
But it's if that's an omen if I ever heard one. And I feel like that kind of sums up where it feels like this is going, especially since Osha, who's been kind of like the vessel of hope and innocence throughout this show, and we're kind of in the same track as her in terms of, you know, she's like she has like a kind of 360 perspective on everything. The Jedi, she's no longer a Jedi, you know, her youth in the Coven, her ambitions to join the Jedi, having since, as we've now learned, been essentially expelled, not necessarily leaving on her own accord. You know, the mystery and curiosity surrounding being reunited with her sister, where she stands, what she truly believes. And I feel like she's been on like unsolid ground for a lot of this, like struggling to cling to her own identity, especially since the Jedi came back into her life. And, you know, and her integrity was drawn into question after the accusations that she was the one murdering them and whatnot. So, all up until this point, I feel like things have been kind of unstable for her, and her compass is kind of pointing in all these different ways, but I feel like she's been a vessel for the audience as well, trying to, like, uncover the truth here. You know, she seems to be the only one who doesn't know what the frick went down on Brendock. She's the only one in the dark here. But the second she put on that mask, I think it's over, y'all. Like, I think it's truly freaking over as soon as she did that, because she is so on, like, uncertain terms with her past, her own identity, what she believes, now that we know that the Jedi expelled her, you know, like, harboring resentment towards that, perhaps, these feelings of failure, even though Chimere is out here reassuring her, like, you're probably not the one who failed, they failed you. Charlie, thank you so much, my friend.
Charlie!
You did not have to freaking do that. Oh my god, that is so not necessary. Real fast, Cat Tom, much love and respect. Please, no watch party next week. It's GalaxyCon. Oh, nice. Thursday through Sunday. I don't want to miss Blade Runner. Oh, don't worry, we will not be doing, I don't think we will be doing any member watch parties next week. Maybe this weekend, maybe, but not next week. Check your Instagram. Oh my goodness, friends sent you a B-Day video. Okay. I have to check my DMs then. You know I'm very bad about that. Well, thank you so much, Charlie. That means a lot. And
shout out to you, Charlie.
So exciting about GalaxyCon. Let's go. Hope you have a great time. That's awesome.
Yeah. Too kind, sir. Too kind.
Yes. So yeah, I think all bets are off now that she's put that helmet on. Like, any sense of hope that I had that this could be spun in a... It's interesting because all the naysayers were kind of, you know, heckling this show prior to its release, saying, how could any story like this even exist? They all have to clearly die in order for it to remain canon, and it seems like it's actually going that way.
The only ones who still need to die are Basil first.
Basil? No!
Kebab Basil. And then May, Osha, and Sol. Those are the only ones, the four beings that still need to die.
Oh,
so
God.
I think that May, Osha, Sol. I mean, Sol said in the last episode that you're strapped down, you're gonna listen to everything, and then you're gonna tell me how to find your sister. So they're gonna show up to the island. I think Chimere and Osha, or just Chimere, will take care of May and Sol. And then you either have Osha and Chimere survive and get slaughtered by the True Master.
Oh, sweet lord,
which is very, very hinted at this point to be Tenebris or Plagueis, based on the unknown planet that they're on, which the unknown planet that they're on shares a lot of similarities with a planet from the Legends Plagueis novel. Which is advertised as a common place of a highly attended place by Plagueis and Tenebris. So I think if Chimere succeeds in killing everybody who saw his face, the master is not going to be happy with him that anyone saw his face to begin with, and recognize that you got lucky. You're telling me you killed almost a dozen double digits Jedi? Yeah, you got lucky, kid. Kebab. It'll be the Chimere, May, Sol, Osha, Basil, Kebab on the True Master's saber.
Barbecue Basil, what have you started? No.
Barbecue Basil. That's right.
I
Barbecue.
do think there is one other route out here for Sol. For Osha, I think it's over. She put that mask on and I feel like she sealed her fate. I don't know. I have really dark feelings surrounding that right now. Like I feel that I don't know. It felt very finite. Like all bets are off as soon as she put that helmet on. So things do not look good for her. I don't think, especially because she's so vulnerable and wishy-washy, and I don't know. The truth might break her. And she's the only one left to learn it. Of course, with May, she's about to hear. She's had one side of the story in her perception this whole time, but she's about to hear what truly went down according to Sol.
Yep.
But we'll see. I'm sure if we have flashbacks tonight, which all signs seem to be pointing to that, it could be going in that direction. But I do feel like one other option that could remedy the loophole of everybody has to either be deceased or non-existent for, this to still remain canon and none of this to get out for the public eye, the Jedi in particular. I think one other option could be Sol not necessarily dying, but abandoning the Jedi and going into hiding or exile, because he's already gone rogue. He's already doing some shady business here to imprison May. And I think what he is about to confess tonight, based on him expressing to her, I'm going to come clean to the council, that means, that to me sounds like whatever they've done on Brendok, and they pinky swore it and then said, let's keep it secret, keep it safe. It's just the four of us, that's it. Nobody else needs to know about it. But I feel like whatever happened could have jeopardized their standing in the Jedi Order. And I feel like if he comes clean, he could be released anyway, or who knows what. So
yeah, well, I mean, Master Torben put himself in a like decade-long coma and then killed himself as soon as he saw May again.
Yeah.
So if a Jedi is willing to go to the lengths to put himself in a coma and then immediately kill himself before
it must
coming
have been
clean,
that bad.
And now Sol is literally going rogue and tying down May to confess the truth and saying, I'm going to come clean to the High Council, which we know Venestra is being shady with the High Council. And she's saying, no, we'll take care of it. We don't need to tell the High Council because then the Senate will get involved and all this stuff. So out of fear, Venestra is keeping the High Council out of it. Now Sol is saying, it's been too long. This matter needs to be brought up with the High Council. So something seriously shady is going on. I remember after the episode 3 dropped, we got the flashbacks. Like we were saying, like, okay, yeah, the Jedi seem to be involved somehow. May didn't do it all herself. But would the Jedi really kill all of the Coven women? Or is this whole master plot orchestrated by the true Sith Master, which hopefully we get a reveal of at the end of the series, or a hint of, or something. And then the Jedi just feel guilt, but they feel somewhat responsible for some reason. And then May and Osha have different perspectives, and perhaps the only one who knows the true story would be this Sith Master, potentially. Like maybe Sol will reveal his side, but then May will have a piece of evidence that contradicts what he says. So then Sol will be like relieved of his guilt because of May.
Yeah.
And then Osha will be then led to believe the same story that this Sith, that Chimere, whoever the Sith is, that contorted May's view. If Osha gets that view, then it makes sense that she goes to the dark. But then maybe Sol brings her back to the light with his view that she thinks is actually true. But then the big kick is that neither of their sides are true, and that the Sith Master has the true full story. And then they all die. And then the end. And then the High Council never knows. Venestra never figures it out. And then end scene. End credits.
Yeah. Bye, Sal. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. Sorry if you've already left after that.
See you, Sal.
I feel like there's a lot of uncovering to do in these last 2 episodes, says Toby Parker. What happened to the Coven? Who's Chimere? And who is his master? What's his backstory? Yeah, and you guys are asking if we think Vernestra was his former master who perhaps gifted him that scar on his back. I don't think so. Granted, he does allude to, I was a pupil a long, long time ago in the Jedi Order. Well, what does that mean? Because you don't look older. You don't look a day over 30, so tell me how long ago it could have possibly been. 30 years isn't that long, and we do know Vernestra is at least 100 years old in this point in the timeline, I think, but I don't think there's a connection there. I haven't read too far at all into the High Republic books, but I feel like that would also be a very, based on the way people like her character and the fact that, she's introduced very young in the High Republic books, I feel like that could be controversial if she were made to be Chimere's. If she had done that to him, if she actually inflicted that upon him. What was I going to say? I mean, we do know. One thing I'm especially curious about that I'm sure will get addressed tonight and we will see. That's what's interesting. It's like we've only seen different sides of the story and can only interpret based on, for example, May's strong stance in the situation here, very much seeming to place blame on the Jedi, so much so that she wants to take revenge. But I think we will see. Whatever has to have happened, Master Indara and Master Soul still continued to pretty much unscathed, handle it. And I would describe Soul as like the perfect epitome of what a Jedi should be, aside from this baggage that he's been concealing all this time, this deep, dark secret. But in terms of his compassion and care, and we've seen that he's a badass in the field, he certainly taught Jecki well. I would describe him as a true, a great Jedi just wanting to do right constantly, and he gets restricted by Vernestra trying to weasel around the council and not necessarily go down the right path, the right chain of command, per se. But whatever happened to Kilnaka and Torben, they were seemingly scarred far more by what went down, to the point that, as you said, Torben self-induced a coma for the rest of his life, essentially, and immediately took that way out when May presented it to him, and Kilnaka seemed to be obsessed and fascinated and fixated, studying, the markings, the tattoos of the Coven,
Yeah, but Vernestra said that he'd only been on
That was,
Kofar
yeah.
for a year.
But still.
So he was still involved with the Jedi, and he was
That's
there
true.
by assignment.
Yes.
So it's not like Torben took himself out completely. Kanaka wasn't like Torben who took himself out completely, but was still on a part of, not in a coma, but was still taking assignment from Jedi Masters. But Toby has a good point here, which is something that caught my attention in the last episode, which is Chimere's age. And he makes some snide comment when they're talking about, Osha's like, oh, you used to be a Jedi. And he was like, yeah, a long time ago. And Osha says, well, I don't know who you are. And he said, a long, long time ago. Like that, they're definitely hinting at something there. Like he is certainly older than we think he is. We know that the Sith have the ability to mask their true identity. We also know that there's changers who exist. Sam Wessel in Attack the Clones, who is a young-looking woman, and then gets hit by Jango's poison dart, and then turns into this vile, shriveled, hideous, totally different alien creature.
Kind of like Melisandre from Game of Thrones, wielding some dark magic, perhaps, to maintain youth.
Yeah, so is Chimere a changer? And does that mean that maybe Chimere is actually Plagueis himself? And he's just changed to look like Chimere.
I was waiting to see what your
his
wild
identity. Like he said, like he made some like totally in your face comment about, well, I wore a mask, so you couldn't tell who I was. But like, if you really just, if that was it, would you have really made a smart ass comment like that? No, probably not. So maybe he's a changer. And I don't think that we know that Plagueis isn't a changer. Because we barely know anything about Plagueis. The only thing we know about Plagueis in canon is Have you ever heard about the tragedy of Dark Plagueis the Wise? That's the only thing in canon we know about Plagueis. The Plagueis novel is not canon. So could Plagueis be a changer and he's Chimere? Could Chimere be a changer and he's not Plagueis, but he's just a changer? The Fountain of Youth theory of, yeah, that water on that planet is actually some type of Fountain of Youth thing? Or does his Sith Master, do they know how to use the Force to not just create life or heal life, but heal yourself to the point where you don't age? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the comment that he made to Osha seemed to really imply that he is not the same age as what you would think just by looking at him.
I don't even trust that Chimere is his real name anymore. You know, Epic Dude, you said it perfectly. Remember, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. So that could address it because, yeah, as I said, he doesn't look a day over 30 years old, if that. So
Yeah.
I
Epic
don't
Dude
think
with
that's
the
a long time.
Carbonite theory. Like,
Yeah.
he could have been just been in Bacta for that long. Could have been like Dagan Gera and Jedi Survivor, where he's just stuck in a tube for 200 years. Who knows? And I think that, unlike what you said, I do think that there is a Vernestra tie here.
You think so?
Because I think that's why she's been hesitant to raise this up and all this stuff. Because I think just like Soul, like you said last week, Soul had probably had an inkling that May might have survived and just never wanted to admit it. I think Vernestra probably says in her head, she's like, I had this Padawan who was kicked out of the order for signs of darkness and whatnot. But if it was like 100 years ago and she knows that he's a human or thought she was a human, she'd be like the same position as Soul was in the beginning of the show, where there's like, no, there's no possible chance. It could be my former Padawan. But what if it was? What if it was? For some crazy situation, Chimere was Venestra's old Padawan, but he was kicked out of the order some crazy long time ago where Venestra wouldn't ever think that he would still be alive. But then now you have 16 years ago, this story about this coven of witches and mysterious dark side powers, and it goes completely haywire with little to no explanation. That's strange. And then now Mace survives and has come back and is now really strong in the Force and has been trained by someone. Well, who would have corrupted May immediately after the coven was taken out, other than a dark side person? But then, why is May going after all these Jedi that were tied back to that scenario if it wasn't a master who is involved with that scenario? So I think Venestra is hiding some stuff too, which is why she hasn't gone to the High Council either. And so I think it would make a lot of sense if Chimere was her former Padawan that went to the dark side.
I don't know. Oliver, I'm in the same boat as you. Oliver Castillo. Soul ends up killing everyone and then he leaves and disappears to a place like Luke in The Last Jedi. They can't kill off Soul. I wish I could say the same thing. They can't kill him off. It would be extremely tragic. But you know, is there a fate somehow worse than, you know, because I imagine now he's in this place. He's clearly racked with so much grief that is so significant to the point that he would go rogue, you know, defect, as, you know, he's trying to make contact with the Jedi, and then as soon as he uncovers it's May, that steers him, you know, for someone who's as by the book as he seems to be, to then immediately snap and then go rogue in that moment and go dark and do his own thing to confess this truth here. You know, is there some fate for him? I question if he feels like a similar position as Torben, you know, like deserving of whatever is about to happen or what is to come if once this truth gets out. I'm just curious if we will see all sides of it. I think we have to at this point if we are getting flashbacks tonight, which again, it seems most likely. But as of now, we've still only got bits and pieces from different people's perspectives. you know, as soon as the fire starts, we only see Osha and her interpretation of how it, you know, the place spontaneously combusted. We don't see May. We don't see what happens to the coven. We see Sol going to rescue the girls. We don't see the other three. That's the other thing. He broke off from the group. Does he even know the full truth or extent necessarily? Because he, you know, split off to go and rescue Osha. So I'm hoping whatever we learn, we see all perspectives, all sides of it, and that there's no more just piece by piece from different people's memories or perspectives. But I don't know. It's definitely time. Penultimate episode. I think it's appropriate. Get all the answers tonight. Deal with the fallout and probably the casualties that are gonna maybe ensue after this. Who knows? Alice, hello there. I made it. Finally got busy at work. Hope everyone is doing great.
Oh.
Thank you, Queen, for joining us.
Welcome, Alice. I don't necessarily think that Sol is avoiding Venestra and the Jedi Rescue Team because of the shady past. Because he says, "I'm going to confess this to the High Council." I think
But
he's
it's not a good
probably
look.
no, it's not.
They're about to frame him.
Not a good look. But I also think that he's probably avoiding them because what would happen if he doesn't? Venestra's immediately going to take custody of May. May is either, I don't know if the Jedi have like the death penalty, but if they do, then she's dead. If they don't, then she's in prison.
They do.
She may not. She may not ever confess, and Sol probably thinks in this moment that I need May here, just the two of us. I'm going to tell the truth, and then in hopes that she is going to, you know, spill the beans on where her master and Osha would be hiding. I think Sol probably thinks if I get the rest of the Jedi involved, they will. We're not going to have enough time to rescue Osha, because even earlier in the show, when Sol's saying we don't have time, let me just go and solve it, and Venestra was pushing back, and we got to consult with the group and all the politics and overhead and all that stuff. So Sol could just be saying, I'm going to confess everything, just you and me one-on-one, and then we're going to go find Osha together as soon as possible, because her life might be in danger, and we don't have time to waste dealing with Jedi politics and catching everybody up to speed. We've got to act now. So it could just be that. But you're right. Saying, I'm going to tell you everything, and then we're going to go get your sister, and then we're going to confess everything to the High Council, means, one, he's for sure not getting to the point of confessing everything to the High Council. For sure not happening. So he's not going to get that far, but he's going to try. The intent is there. He is going to tell May while she's strapped down in the chair everything from his perspective of what happened. And then I think we are going to see the rendezvous of Chimere, Osha, May, and Sol. But then probably the arrival of the overarching Sith Master. Always two there are. And we have just seen The Apprentice.
Yeah.
And then they all will die.
It's all for naught, because they're all just going to get annihilated anyway.
The Fifth Lord will show up, as Sean says, and eliminate them.
Yeah, another thing I want to see, I'm curious, May probably, she's forced now, she has no choice. But I don't think she wants to hear any of this from Sol, because she's been, living life under the impression that she has the full scope, the full story, especially hearing from Osha now that not only did the Jedi eventually adopt her, but then also seemingly turned Osha against May and brainwashed her to believe otherwise, that May was the one who started all this fire and whatnot, May's obviously not going to want to hear anything I don't think Sol has to say, but I am curious that there's still more. I don't know. The two biggest questions remaining, obviously, of course, are what conspiracy, whatever collusion happened on Brendok, corruption, collusion, whatever you want to call it. tragedy, of course, with the coven, the truth will come out there. But the one thing that still really remains for me is May's game plan and intentions now. Granted, we had that discussion last week in which everyone sided with me in regards to did it appear that May had killed Osha when she was impersonating her and stole her, civilian robes and whatnot in order to go tag up with Soul.
Do we need to pull up the screenshots again?
No. I'm just alluding to this fact that Tom, was very much under the impression that May had killed Osha in order to take her place. The rest of us didn't interpret it that way.
Mm-hmm.
However, do you still believe that? Because she didn't seem to have any outward expression or say anything to Soul when he says, I'm going to tell you the truth and you're going to tell me where your master is because I know he has Osha and we need to save her. And May didn't seem to necessarily react to that in any way that indicated, oh, but I killed her.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess he didn't really give time for May to rebuttal.
Yeah.
Before the credits cut. So if May did want to say something, I think it was fair to say that she didn't have the time before the screen went black.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, you're right. How does he necessarily know that one Chimera survived the bugs and that Osha was still out there? I mean, all May said was that she's gone. So as soon as Soul realizes that Osha is May on the ship, then immediately he's going to be like, okay, I don't think that you... In his head, he's probably like,
I can't trust anything you say.
I don't know where... Yeah, clearly you know where she is. And if he just assumes in his head that the Sith Master was just delayed, or that Chimera was delayed by the bugs and didn't actually die to them, which is probably a reasonable assumption, considering he just killed all of his Jedi comrades. Then yeah, maybe in his head he's just like, okay, since you're May and not Osha, the real Osha has to still be out there somewhere, and Chimera probably didn't die to the bugs, so therefore Chimera probably has Osha. So I think probably through deductive reasoning, that's his assumption. But May could come out and just say, no, yeah, great story. I feel bad and I miss Osha, but it's too late because she's dead because I killed her. And it might come out then. Like, May might still be in shock and be grieving and figured out, oh, wow, this is a mistake. I shouldn't have killed her. I went too far, yada, yada, yada. And then it's going to be even more heartbreaking and emotional when they go to Chimera's planet and they see that Osha is alive. May and Soul are both stunned and they're like, oh my God, you're alive. And then the Sith Master comes in and kills them all as soon as they have a reunion. And May is like, oh my God, you're still alive. I'm so sorry. And Osha's like, oh my God, I found the full story. I'm so sorry. And then they have this night moment to come back together and reunite after 16 long years of thinking they were dead and then hating each other, even though they thought they were dead. And then they're alive now and they come together. And it's this beautiful moment. And then it rips everybady's hearts out because they all died.
I admittedly lost track of a lot of that, but we'll see. Baby God, how will this end? ... in fire. We get a little House of the Dragon Acolyte crossover where everybody just dies. I mean, for real, we got two shows going on at the same time where they're clearly not afraid to kill off major characters. So, who knows? Maybe Acolyte will get that Game of Thrones treatment in which none of your favorites are safe. I'm really beginning to feel that way. And you know, at the start, when a lot of the, early critics of this show were questioning, well, how could any of them survive and live... there can't be any witnesses after seeing a red lightsaber, blah, 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 can't, yes, obviously canon, obviously yes, circumstances, however this unfolds and concludes, the closure has to tie up in a way that then doesn't compete with the fact that everybody else, this all goes unbeknownst to the rest of the Jedi Order. But essentially, yes, if Osha, May, and Soul don't make it out of this alive, then those were the final witnesses to what went down on Kofar. So, originally when people were suggesting that the only way for this all to work is if everybody in this show dies at the end, like months before this series aired. I was like, I feel like there's other ways around it, but now it's actually starting to feel
Well, it's either
like
die or they're just trapped. They're trapped on this other world, like Ahsoka and Sabine are trapped in Peridia, a whole other galaxy. They know some truth, but nothing they can do about it. They can't influence the history books of the main galaxy. Maybe it's something like that, where they get trapped on a planet, and they can't actually communicate and tell the true story. Alice is up for more Star Wars incest, which, I mean, keep on the Game of Thrones hype and whatnot.
Why would that be incest? Find out they're brother and sister? I didn't read that part.
That is the definition of incest.
I didn't read that part. I mean,
we got a snippet of Luke and Leia incest, but more incest in Star Wars. Where's
no.
Stop it. Bring him in to get more incest.
Star Wars follows us now. You can't be saying dumb shit like that.
They probably watch Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I'm sure Swagman watches Game of Thrones. And
Lord Val says, I think Soul consents where Osha is because of her strength in the Force. That is valid. And also curious if a Jedi has the capability to read one's thoughts if they are unconscious. You know, he does have May there trapped. Perhaps he could have read, you know, her mind at some point or another in order to derive the truth that way. Another way to square with canon, says Bob of the Old Ways, there are Sith agents on the Jedi Council covering everything up. Interesting. That could also apply. That's an interesting theory. Toby Parker says, I think Chimera is most likely a Knight of Ren, or Ren himself. Leslie Headland confirmed that the Kylo Ren theme is there for a reason. Yes, that was not for nothing. Hey, no fighting now, you two, Jason says. I was making a joke because of Luke and Leia. LOL, says Alice. Yeah, you didn't have to spin it and turn it into a whole Game of Thrones and Star Wars thing.
It's still a joke.
Oh my god.
It's still a joke. I hope they're not brother and sister, because that would throw the whole story really into a wrench.
And that's why I'm
Incest
seemingly
aside.
like, I'm also a little, that's why I kind of don't want Vernestra necessarily to be involved in all of this, because it's still, things are already like pretty intertwined. The only thing that's still, you know, I'm curious, you know, I don't think we'll get this answer necessarily, but I am curious, and there were theories about Chimera being present, perhaps having something to do with the Coven. Obviously, Osha, actually, she does allude to that in episode 5 as he's slaying everybody and she's trying to escape with Yord, and he mentions that he could get inside your head, and she compares it to what she's seen Mother Anastasia do. So I am curious that, you know, he says he's part of the Jedi. I do not fully really trust anything he says. Granted, he's playing it casual, he's playing it cool, and like not imposing, not threatening or intimidating at all after we just saw him slay and execute people. But he's suddenly all calm and collected, but I think it's all tactics on his part. I really still don't trust anything he says. Is his name even really Chimera? You know, is that an alias, a stage name? Who is he really? I think this backstory, you know, could be a sob story. You actually mentioned something interesting about his scar, which people are interpreting to have similarities to perhaps a certain light whip that Vernestra wields. But you mentioned during that scene, he never outwardly says that it was his Jedi Master. No. He never confirms nor denies, so it could be a Sith Master, perhaps.
Yeah, Osha says, "You're Jedi Master," and he says nothing, really.
Yeah.
It just kind of cuts, and he doesn't really acknowledge it, so
he's leaving things for her to interpret, and, you know, drawing up these kind of sob stories for her. Yeah, he never does confirm nor deny, but leaves it on the table for her to conclude that his Jedi Master could have done something so awful to him. I don't trust anything that he says. No. I think all of this backstory, if he has something to do with the Covenant and the Jedi Order, I have no idea. We're gonna get a lot of answers tonight, I imagine. I'm so ready. I'm scared. I think we all have theories, but there's still so much mystery. That's one interesting thing. I will give it to them. I don't like to use the word predictable or obvious, but the reveal of Chimera being, this master here who's been controlling May, a lot of people called that one. I was in denial about it, but a lot of people did call it. But I feel like here on Brenda, yeah, I feel like these events on Brendock, though, they've done a really good job of setting it up, showing you just enough context, just enough clues to still draw so many questions of what the frick could have happened. How the frick, who knows? The generator was going wild. How does the entire fortress that is seemingly impenetrable and the only safe place for the girls go up in flames from just one little notebook paper? If that's the case, then they had awful fire protection engineering. Like, there's the absence of Mother Coral's body when they made a point to show everybody else's body. What, they've planted so many little seeds for you to pick up on, but you still can't piece it all necessarily together. So I feel like there's still so much opportunity here for just like sheer surprise tonight. Like, I have absolutely no guesses other than whatever it could have been was so bad that Torben was willing to end his life and guilt. And, Soul's about to come clean to the Jedi Order. And there's a reason they never told the High Council, because they maybe would have been expelled.
I think come clean from his perspective. Like,
yeah,
Toby makes a good point here. What do you think Chimera meant when he said he wanted the power of 2? Is it referring to the Sith Rule 2? Is he talking about the Coven chant? Maybe he's talking about a dyad.
Yeah.
But I think it goes back to the original theory that we were talking about on this show after episode 3 came out, which is that they made it seem like everybody thinks that it's some type, at least Osha thinks it's some type of May intention. I think May probably thinks it's the Jedi who did it. It's shown to the audience as like an accident in real time. But yeah, this line from Chimera about the power of 2, like if it's the reveal that the Sith discovered this coven had the power to literally create life from the Force, so then they need to find a way to take that power for themselves. So they stage this whole thing, and it's with their intention to wipe out the coven, but keep pieces alive so that they can learn the power, and nobody else is going to know about it. This is a Sith terrorist attack with the goal of obtaining the power of 2 in the Coven chant. And then all sides have no clue it's the Sith until now, 16 years later. And it's torn May and Osha apart. It's torn the Coven apart. It's literally caused Jedi to kill themselves over a lie that's all perpetrated by the Sith. I mean, that's Sith 101 right there. Taking power for yourself at the mercy of others, mentally and physically, with no remorse whatsoever. And then you kill everybody at the end of the show anyway. Like, that is total Sith. That's Sith all over it.
I do think
100% Sith.
Everyone's making a good point. There's discussion in the chat. Is there season 2? I've not yet seen confirmation or official cancellation. I've been receiving a lot of comments from people who don't like the show, claiming that it's officially been canceled, but I have not seen that anywhere. I've seen absolutely no proof from Star Wars about that, and that's who I trust as an authority on the matter.
But Leslie Headland has said that this season ends definitively.
Oh, she has?
Yeah, if there's going to be, they could do something else, but
you're not
going to be left with a bunch of crazy open-ended questions like cliffhanger needing a season 2, from what Leslie Headland has said. But I don't think it's going to be like Kenobi necessarily, where
that really was finite. Versus, I feel like they would leave a little open.
Was it?
Okay,
there's all right, now we're going to talk about
No. We don't have time for that. We don't have time.
What's her face?
Deborah Chow?
Riva survives. She's just still alive, knows everything about the twins. Obi-Wan goes off to finally complete his training with Qui-Gon. Anakin and Vader know that Obi-Wan is still out there and alive, and there is some open-ended questions from Obi-Wan. It wasn't a perfectly clean, the fact that Riva is still alive, that is a big wrench.
Is there the potential? Yes, but Deborah Chow's intention was, this is it. this is finite. And even when people are saying and begging, hey, we want a season 2, obviously Ewan McGregor's on board. He's voiced, I think, that he would do one, but I think they all have made it clear, in spite of maybe popular demand, that no, this was a conclusive story. Versus, I think there's a difference if Leslie did write this to act and operate as its own standalone. Not necessarily. I think there's a difference of you can write something to be conclusive and finite, knowing that will be the end. That is, it is concrete finale, so you have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I think there's also a difference, though, that you can write something to operate as a great start to finish story, conclusive, definitive, while still leaving potential for a second. So,
and you still got like 100-ish years of canon before the next canon thing, so you seriously got some wiggle room to play around. Versus Kenobi, you got 10 years, and then you've got 40-year-old movies of canon to deal with after 10 years of in-universe time. So way less wiggle room for Kenobi
versus this,
even for them to even make the show in
even
the first
place. Even the first season was kind of close,
and it worked out. But with this one, they have way more wiggle room and much bigger sandbox to play in if they were to conclusively end this season and then still come up with a second season. And even if the story here wraps up pretty nicely.
Alice is making good points, though. Like, she mentioned, even if the stories end for the characters here, it could make way for then exploring whoever might survive and how that correlates with the Sith. I think one of the bigger questions is, I feel pretty certain about Sol, May, and Osha's fates right now. Like, I think one way or the other, either they're all in danger, or maybe one of them will make it out unscathed, or Sol will go rogue and exile himself in shame or something like that. And but I think the biggest question is Chimere. Would he be replaced? As seemingly there is still a bigger bad looming. So the question could remain, does Chimere carry that torch, or will either May or Osha,
it means
signs are pointing to Osha right now, step up to replace him, or tag team to eliminate the big bad?
Somehow, Palpatine returns.
Oh, jeez. Do you have a poll idea for this evening as we wind down to T-minus about 14 minutes before the episode drops?
Poll idea. Well, I think the main theme tonight, which everybody's kind of talking about, is tonight going to be the flashback, the resolution to the flashback episode, which I think everybody here is pretty much on that same page. Another idea would be, does everybody die or not? Which is kind of
I have a particular character in mind. I've been kind of commandeering the polls lately.
I haven't typed the poll in weeks.
I've been taking over.
It's been a long time.
You may fire when we're ready, y'all. Poll positions. Question being, will Sol survive? And it's coming out to a resounding 80% no, he will not. Right out of the gate. Y'all have no hope. All right, it's bouncing. We'll leave that up there for a little bit.
I would like the idea of the Sith taking him captive. Like taking prisoners, Jedi prisoners, and
the show, Alice. Will Sol survive the entirety of the show? Should have clarified. Thank you. Yes. Will he make it out alive from the season finale next week? But not necessarily tonight. If he dies tonight, it's over for me, y'all. I'm going dark. You won't hear or see from me. I'll be really upset. He can't. He won't. Tonight's flashbacks. Everyone, I think, is safe this evening. Because we're getting the other side of the story, so.
What's that song from The Lion King? Can you feel the love tonight?
Yeah.
I don't know why, I'm just thinking about, can you feel him die?
Oh my god.
Cover song. R.I.P. Squid Game dude. Yeah, now he's toast. He's toast. Maybe not tonight.
No, I think everyone's okay tonight.
Here's an idea. I could see him dying tonight. And then the final episode is, you've got two Sith, and you've got May and Osha. And then you pit them, kind of like what we saw in Tales of the Empire, where the Inquisitors force Barriss and the other Jedi to fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
maybe they do that with May and Osha, and they say,
no.
literally, one of you's got to come out of this. Your master's dead, and then maybe the Sith Master kills Chimere and says, "Listen, one of you is going to be my apprentice, but you're only going to get there by killing the other one," and then puts them together. And then maybe they pull like a Hunger Games, and then both kill each other, and then it's just the Sith Master left.
Pulling a Hunger Games would be appropriate with Amandla Stenberg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she just survives longer.
Danny, thank you so much. Incredibly generous, my friend. I hope everyone is blessed. Had to stop a fist fight at work early, so I'm basically Batman. Also, on a literary level, I love the dichotomy of romantic seduction and dark side seduction that this show is presenting. Danny, thank you so much for the super chat. You've been way too generous, my friend. It's so very appreciated. But yes, it is interesting. And what's funny is if you go on Star Wars Twitter, you know, especially after last week's episode, everyone's absolutely thirsting over Chimere. And even, you know, in episode 4, before he was unmasked, you know, even after he was unmasked, you know, everyone's like, arms, biceps, Leslie, what are you doing here? Like, I think this is so purposeful on her part. If she could go online and see everyone publicly thirsting for this man wrapped around, you know, his finger, that's what's happening. That's what she probably wants. That's exactly what he's doing here. The whole point of his character is to, distract you and draw you in. Everyone's like freaking already in the Chimere arm army, I think is the stand group name.
Why do you think that they chose the costume design they did?
They're falling for the trap.
Take his robe off, his outer shell, and then it's going to be a sleeveless, like, tunic, and he's going to be jacked in the arms.
Yep.
And then he's going to literally take a naked trip to the spa and invite Osha to come on in and join him. Like, literally dark side seduction to the next level.
It's working, because if you see everybody foaming at the mouth on Twitter, it's like, you're proving the whole point that she's going for here. Like, this villain, this is entirely... It would be such a wild reveal. Similar to, spoiler alert, for Game of Thrones, the original series, if you've not yet seen it. There is a certain character who is gorgeous, very young, beautiful. It is later revealed that she is weaponizing some form of mysterious dark magic and is revealed to be this sagging old woman. You know, it's kind of actually terrifying. Not that old women are terrifying, but she's old. She's like fantasy has lived 150 years old. Like, that's how she looks.
It's like the scene in The Shining.
Yeah.
And then,
honestly what it's like.
And then it flashes back and it's like, ooh.
Yes, it's actually precisely like that. So that could be so freaking wild if Leslie, you know exactly what you're doing. If everybody's out here publicly thirsting for Chimere, to then that be the reveal, or if he is using, as you guys have suggested, you know, the dark side as a path to unnatural abilities, there could be something sinister and mysterious or some sort of weird magic in the works here. You know, similarly with if he does have some sort of connection to the Coven or background with that, I question that because it's seemingly all women, but you never know. Perhaps they were exiled by the men of the Coven. You know, they don't specify the circumstances around their exile or whatnot, but we know Mother Anastasia, they were doing something interesting to conceive life, to conceive Osha and May, who's to say they don't have similar powers to, sustain life or, maintain that youth, or I don't know, that could be the biggest 360 of all time if Chimere is revealed to be utilizing something like this. Yeah. Some sort of weird, mysterious magic to maintain this exterior appearance.
And then he is really boss nass.
Yeah, oh god, that would be horrific. Or like you said, if he could be a changeling, Zam Vessel prevents perfectly normally, and then as she's killed, looks really freaky, looks really scary. Yeah. So you never know. Are you starting a new poll?
Yep, we're gonna do a new poll.
Okay, poll.
2/3 people
poll
say
round 2, y'all.
Soul's not surviving. This poll is way more important. And shout out to whoever recommended this.
What the heck? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my god. Oh Jesus. I cannot believe I'm approving this.
I can change the text.
Yeah, don't use that word.
I'll just put an eye emoji. Can I do emoji?
Can we?
I don't think so.
Oh, we can't.
No, we can't. We can't do it. Cat's grammar checking my
How about
poll. Even though literally I'm stealing this straight from whoever recommended in the chat. But yeah, go for it. Go for it.
All right, this one's so unserious.
Critical.
This is not serious. Who's spicier, everybody? Chimera or Ben Swallow?
Honorable mention would be Anakin. But Anakin doesn't use his abs to seduce anybody. He's just getting out of bed to have his nightmares.
That's such a good point. That
versus
scene...
Chimera and Ben Swallow. Ben Swallow unintentionally is trying to seduce Rey with those with his
no, don't.
But she's like, it doesn't work because she's like, ugh, she scoffs at it and she's like, really?
You can tell that she's flustered though. It has an effect. And I never actually interpreted that scene that way. I know that scene gets a lot of flack. We're referring to the Last Jedi Force FaceTime between Kylo Ren and Rey when he appears shirtless with those high-waisted pants and she asks him to like put on a t-shirt. Yeah. I never interpreted it to be a form of seduction as we're seeing here pretty blatantly in the Acolyte, but that could have been an underlying thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of similar situations because I don't think Chimera did that with the intention of May being there or Osha being there, but then he was just totally calm and natural about it and took advantage of the moment. I think Ben Swallow probably did the same, where he wasn't intending, like he didn't start the Force FaceTime to get.
But Palpatine knew. But he's like, oh, he's shirtless right now.
Yeah, Palpatine knew. He's like, all right, Force FaceTime now.
It was
but Palpatine at least has some decency.
Who bridged your minds?
He was clothed from the
he waited for the right moment.
Waist down. But then, like, the Force FaceTime goes through, and then Ben Swallow is sitting there like,
Grandpa Palps knew exactly what he was doing, y'all.
You like what you see? Huh? And then Rey is like,
how did we get here? I agree, Charlie. This is what happens when you let Tom steer the boat.
It was the chat. The chat is to blame here. I'm capitalizing on the conversation in the chat.
Well, somebody made a great comment. Somebody made a comment. Oh, Bird Church, yes. Boba in the Polynesian spa outspices them all. Why didn't I think of that? True. Why the frick did I think of that? It's so hilarious. I got a comment on last week's video, which I thought was funny, and I responded to it because it wasn't that bad. I really just pitied this person that this was their logic, and I just thought it was hilarious, but they were very salty. They didn't like the episode, and they were like, another shirtless man. Just Disney Star Wars ruining everything. I was like, do y'all forget, like, Anakin's shirtless in Revenge of the Sith? Like, we've seen plenty of shirtless men in Star Wars. This is not a new phenomenon.
Go out on the street. You probably run into a shirtless man. So, at least
it's
here,
summertime.
Because it's warm in summer.
Anywhere.
If you're in Alaska or Antarctica or I guess like Chile because it's the super winter in the southern hemisphere, or Australia, Alice, is it snowing outside for you?
It's winter for them.
You probably won't see any you probably won't see any shirtless men. But if you're in the northern hemisphere or on the equator, and people are running outside, you probably are seeing a shirtless man. So.
I love all the musical references to the shenanigans that we have descended into. Sean goes, it was only a chat. How did it end up like this? And Toby, it was you who planted the seed for the... It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Toby
I know.
Parker.
We haven't had a little wild segment here on Dork Discourse for a bit, but we've got T-minus 2 minutes until the episode drops, folks. So it's probably actually already dropped for some of y'all.
Luke in the back of the tank when he's wearing that diaper.
Yeah.
Kenobi in the back of the tank in Kenobi.
Well, that's Disney Star Wars.
Anakin in the back of the tank when he's charred and limbless in Kenobi.
That's Disney Star Wars.
Still shirtless.
Don't you know? Disney Star Wars is real.
Oh, well,
that was the complaint. That was the complaint that Disney Star Wars has since improved. But sure, we got Ben Solo, we got Kenobi in the back of the tank, Anakin in the back of the tank. Boba Fett,
Swallow.
shirtless and pantsless.
Oh, that's right.
Boba
And in the back
Fett,
of the tank.
basically.
Didn't we
Hey.
get what's his face? Cobb Vanth in the back of the tank. All these people in the back of the tank, they're not wearing their shirts. So
Yeah. That was a joke, by the way, in case that sarcasm didn't come across. Disney Star Wars is indeed Star Wars. I just thought that was a hilarious comment. And that's what I responded to that person. I was like, Anakin shirtless in Revenge of the Sith. This is just the funniest thing I feel like you could poke at to critique this series. But alas, we have 1 minute until tonight's episode, the penultimate leading up until next week's finale.
we
So
just need to see Palpatine shirtless.
thank you guys. Please no. On that note, on how did we descend here? How did we get here?
Palpatine's probably jacked.
Thank you guys for being here. In spite of all of this. Maul, yeah, Darth Maul's whole character is shirtless in the Clone Wars, precisely. Thank you, Toby. Oh my god, yeah, that man never wears a shirt. So yeah, shirtless men. Glad the results are in. Chimera is the spiciest, so we'll see what happens tonight.
We got 1 minute.
Thank
1 minute and
you.
it's out.
Thank you guys so much for joining us, for watching. If the episode is out for you, if you are one of the lucky ones who has refreshed Disney Plus and it's already there, enjoy. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. I'll catch you guys in my reaction, which I will hopefully be uploading tonight. Best Dork Discourse ever. I'm so glad.
I think so, Toby.
We got a little carried away, but sometimes that's when the most fun happens. But thank you guys for showing up tonight, for joining us, for having a good laugh with us this evening. Lots of good discussion and predictions. We'll see if it all comes to fruition tonight. But until then, until my reaction, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., wherever you may be. May the force be with you guys. Enjoy the episode, and we will see you guys again next week. Same time, same place. Very, very soon.
Yes. Adios.
Have a great rest
Enjoy.
of your week, everybody.
We shall see what is in store for the finale next week.
Until then,
Yes.
thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon.
Later.